Hey, thanks everybody for joining us today, Live Music Nation podcast. I'm your host, Jake Gill. Today we're with Mike Booth from the Rocky Mountain Songwriter Festival. Mike, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Good to be here.
Mike, give us a little background on you. Where'd you grow up? Talk a little bit about your career and your position with the festival.
I grew up right here in Red Lodge, Montana, and spent 20 some years in corporate positions, putting on events around the country, and moved back to Montana and permanently in 2011 and started our first festival, which was the Red Lodge Songwriter Festival in 2015.
Very good, very good. Okay, for the listener who has never been to Montana and the Red Lodge Music Festival, give us a visual of what it looks like, and then talk about the sounds, the type of music they're going to hear, and then is there food? Is there other events going on?
So our festivals may not be entirely unique across the country, at least in the way of songwriter festivals go, but unique to a lot of festivals in that we use the existing infrastructure, being the bars and restaurants and auditoriums that exist in any one of our community. We do 3 festivals this summer. We do the Red Lodge Festival in June. We do the Yellowstone Songwriter Festival, which is in Cody, Wyoming in September, and then the Whitefish Songwriter Festival, which is in Whitefish, Montana in September as well. So any one of our festivals will have 8 to 9 different venues, and there'll be the existing bars and restaurants through town. The hit songwriters, which are songwriters mainly from Nashville that have all written one or more #1 hits that you've heard on the radio, they perform in theaters and auditoriums in the evening.
Very good. That's got to be a huge benefit to your towns.
It's a huge economic benefit to our communities. We focus on the shoulder seasons. So our communities from mainly 4th of July to Labor Day are tourist communities. We're gateway communities to national parks. So we're full at that time. So we go early in June, late in September to try to extend those tourist weeks into the fall and into the early summer.
So is this festival just for songwriters or is it for everybody?
Well, it's songwriters play. All of our shows are what we call in the round. So there'll be 2 to 4 songwriters on stage swapping songs and stories. But it's for the fans. And any one of our venues could be a small bar, might have 30 people inside. They're very intimate shows. And an auditorium could be 600 people. And at any given time during the day, there's probably close to 15 shows throughout the day.
Where did this idea come from, Mike? And did you start it or are you just carrying it on?
I started it in 2015 with a friend of mine who happened to be a songwriter. And I had never been to a songwriter festival. I didn't know anything about a songwriter festival. And so the idea sounded kind of intriguing, and so I did a little research and researched places like 30A and Key West and some of the bigger songwriters festivals around the country, and that's where the idea came from. And we just rolled the dice the first year, didn't know what it could turn out to be, and it turned out to be a smashing success. And everybody said, "You're going to do it again." So we did it again and again and again. Now we're in our 8th year in Red Lodge, our 3rd year in Whitefish in Cody, Wyoming. So, and then to a greater benefit, many of these songwriters have been some of my best friends. So not only are they great songwriters, musicians, but they're just amazing people.
Is this a ticketed event?
It's all ticketed events. Yeah, we do a couple free shows. We do some free open mics in the evening. We do a kind of a public get to know songwriters on Saturday, but almost all of our shows are ticketed.
Is it a 1 ticket pass or is it per songwriter round?
Everything from an all access pass, which gets you into all the shows, is around $200, to if you walk up to the gate and want to go in and see a songwriter show in one of the bars, it's $10.
Okay.
So there's really something there for everybody.
Yeah, that's perfect. Mike, what was it for you when you got involved and you saw the environment of the Songwriters Festival? What was it that said, "Hey, I want to bring this to Montana and Wyoming in that area"?
You know, I'm a huge music fan. I've been a music fan all my life, and followed bands. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've seen the Rolling Stones live and things like that. However, when I saw, especially the hit songwriters perform, you know, Costas perform "Blame It on Your Heart," which we all know from Patty Loveless on the radio, but when he's playing it, the guy that wrote it, it just creates a whole nother meaning to the song and the intimacy with just a songwriter and an acoustic guitar. It just blew my mind.
Yeah, it is a different experience for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike, let's go off topic for just a little bit because this is something that I just stumbled across of just a couple of weeks. AI and the songwriting capabilities of now this computer they call Chat GTP. Have you explored that at all?
I have not.
It's incredible. In 20 seconds, you can type in what you want. You can say, I want a country song in the key of G, and I want it to talk about my wife, a red pickup truck in the hills of Kentucky. And in 20 seconds, it'll spit out an intro, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, a bridge, chorus, and an outro. Now, I know that technology, and you and I both know that technology is always good, and it's going to help. As a songwriter, though, how do you look at that? How do you look at technology? And I'll just leave it at that. How do you look at technology?
Well, I think technology is inevitable, and
Yeah.
change is inevitable, and so all that's going to happen. You know, whether we don't go to record stores anymore, they're all gone. You know, we all do streaming. However, I think and I'm sure there's economic forces out there that are going to love that, because then they don't have to pay the songwriter, they don't have to pay the publisher,
Right.
Those kind of things. And so it kind of makes me sad in a way, because I think it's a hard game today for people that are trying to write songs in Nashville or Texas or wherever. I mean, I'm 60 years old, so many of my peers that wrote back in the 90s and 80s and early 2000s, it was a different deal where they could actually make a really good living writing songs, because, you know, you might have had a song on the B side of somebody's album, but every time that album got sold, you got paid. And, you know, if it was a platinum album, you got paid handsomely. Where today, if that song is not streamed, you know, or you even download it on Apple Music, but you don't play it, that songwriter never gets paid. So
Yeah.
when you overlay that with the AI piece of it, where they can actually create songs, and a recording artist can kind of create it for the way they want it to sound, you really cut out that songwriter and publisher and those kind of things. So, you know, I hope we can kind of go back to a point of, you know, live music is live music, and I think there's nothing like live music.
Yeah.
And so hopefully, even though some of that might take the place of songwriters, there'll still be troubadours out on the road singing their hearts out, playing to audiences that care.
Yeah. Well, and it is why live music is not, like we all thought when casinos opened. You know, we thought casinos were going to be the end to live music in bars, and it did hit it for a while, but then people realized what they were missing, you know, and then COVID, of course, everybody realized how important live music was once COVID hit. That was the best thing that ever happened to live music. It killed it for a year, but it came back even stronger. And so when I look at something like a songwriter festival, and you get the songwriter up there telling the story, AI can't tell the story behind the song, you know, so that live interaction with the audience, that's always going to be there. I mean, you could talk about virtual reality and putting on a pair of goggles and, you know, listening to a songwriter in Texas when you're in Canada telling that story, but it's just not the same. You can't feel that low E string penetrate your chest when you're in that room, and you can't hear the rasp in their voice vibrate through the hairs on your arm. And it is that live interaction that people fully thrive. So when I played with that AI computer, I was amazed. And then I was like, well, okay, so it can write better lyrics than what I can. But can it convey the message that a songwriter conveys in a song? And you know, there's just that human aspect. So I think there's a benefit. What you're doing though with your Songwriter Festival is the answer. It is the reason that people still go to see live shows. And you know, ticket prices have just never been higher because the demand is there as it goes through there. Mike, as a songwriter for you, gosh, what keeps you going? What keeps you going as a songwriter?
Well, I'm not a songwriter. I'm not a musician. I don't have a musical. I cannot put two chords together for my life. I am a producer and event organizer, and that was my corporate background.
Mike, you've never penned lyrics?
No.
Really?
No, I never have.
You've never secretly at home on a piece of paper jotted down a hook? You sure, Mike?
No, I never have. And I don't think I could, you know, and that's kind of the cool thing about what I do is that, you know, I don't try to be one of the songwriters. I don't try to relate necessarily. I try to learn a lot about their business. And I just have so much appreciation and love of not just what they do as songwriter, but also their life. I mean, the people that we've kind of elevated to are real troubadours that, you know, they pack up and head to the next gig the next day. And I just have so much respect for that life. And, you know, then the kind of the cool thing that happens to us too, and you've probably seen this on stage, is it's really not competition, but we call it the songwriter competition. So when you're in a round with 2 or 3 people and, you know, there's this little elevation that goes, man, I got to follow that. I mean, that guy or gal is really good. I can't suck.
Yeah.
And so the whole show just elevates because they don't want to be they want to be as good as the person next to them. And then that, you know, that's the thing where AI can't replace is that the interaction between the songwriters, especially at the hit songwriter level, because they know each other so well, they played together. And so when they know the songs, and so they collaborate, they play together, they rib each other, and it's just that interaction is just magnetic.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Mike, I always ask these 2 questions in every interview. What is the best concert you've ever seen your entire life?
Probably Jason Isbell at the Ryman.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, I bet. You could bring one musical act, one artist, dead or alive, to the Rocky Mountain Songwriter Festival. Who would you bring?
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive.
On stage acoustic.
Yep.
Tom Petty.
Oh, Tom Petty, yeah. Yeah.
I think he's the greatest songwriter that may have ever been. I mean, he was amazing.
Nope. That would hit. You're the first person to say that. That's great. Mike, just curious, what did you do career-wise before you started the Songwriter Festivals?
I worked for several international franchise companies and did their conventions and event planning and fan trips for their top producers and things like that. So my background is marketing, organization, that kind of stuff. You
just always kind of had that bug and that skill of organizing and putting together.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Mike, how do people find out more about your Songwriter Festivals?
You can go to RockyMountainSongwriterFestivals.org, and all 3 of our festivals is there. And we'd love to see you in Montana or Wyoming in the summer.
That's awesome. Guys, check them out, Rocky Mountain Songwriter Festival. I appreciate you, Mike.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle of